Hey, it's John.
And Justin.
We're doing our first developer day here. First off, the first product we're creating is a product called GENRI. It stands for Genealogical Repository Index. And what it will do is answer one very simple question. For a given place, say for instance Knighton-on-Thames in England, for a given time or a year range, say 1725 to 1728, tell me all of the records that exist within a 10-mile radius that may interest me as a genealogist. So for example, I can go in there and say, just show me the marriage records within 10 miles of here because I know there's a marriage, but they got married in a different parish or something like that. To do that, we're going to have to go through most of the repositories that currently exist, such as some of the online ones, like Family Search and Ancestry, and some of the physical repositories, county courthouses, clerks' houses, things like the National Archives. We'll collect all of that together and wrap it up in a nice little package for download and provide an API to it such that you can go ahead and do that very query I was talking about on GENRI. And that's the first thing we're going to do.
So one of the most common questions we get after people learn what we're doing is, what's your stack? What are the tools, what are the databases, systems that you're using to make this happen? So we're going to talk about that. We're going to tell you. We're using node.js, Neo4j, mySQL, couchdb. So first, node.js. Node.js is excellent for evented I/O. So it's going to be sort of it's going to be our API. It's going to make the calls to the database. For the APIs, we're going to use the Restify package. For the HTML pages, we're going to use right now the Express framework. That's basically it for Node.js.
Yeah, Node.js. CouchDB and Couchbase is kind of the second thing we're going to be using. The reason we're using CouchDB, which is a document kind of schema-less, very loose schema database, is because the data we're getting from a lot of these repositories and just user contributions is not well structured. You have amazing differences in the way jurisdictions are stacked on top of each other with inheritance, between places like the UK and then in the United States, you've got the city, county, state, United States, and then you have this weird outlier in New Orleans where you have all these wards, which are like this weird subsection thing that doesn't really happen anywhere else. So we're going to keep it, realizing this, we're just going to keep it fairly schemaless. We're going to be more concerned about being able to query all of that data rather than try to organize it into some very specific pattern. And that's the reason we're using CouchDB. Now, Couchbase takes CouchDB and sticks it together with Memcache. And it also adds nice some clustering features and some nice things there. So rather than use raw CouchDB, we'll probably use Couchbase. We'll probably use Memcache for things like throttling and authentication as well.
Yeah, a common complaint against CouchDB is its inability to scale, and Couchbase solves that for us.
Yeah.
So we're also going to use mySQL for things like user data, where a relational database makes sense. We're not going to throw that into CouchDB.
Yep. Kind of the last piece on the stack that we've got is Neo4j, which is a graph database. The reason we're using it is because it allows us to do two very important queries. The first one is to be able to traverse a not very well structured hierarchy, kind of like the jurisdictions I was talking about before, where you've got to create a subgraph by starting in this one location, which is a GIS coordinate, and kind of traversing your way and saying, okay, we've got these at the local level, and then these at the county or the state level or whatever it happens to be, and these at the national level, and be able to aggregate that. And the second thing we need to be able to do is we need to take that data there and be able to do some geospatial queries on it to limit it to particular radii or polygon queries, and be able to limit it in other ways, such as only give me physical repositories versus online repositories. And Neo4j has that capability built and baked into it, and it's available right now.
So we're going to give you a demo of what we have set up this week already. Right here is Raven, version 0.1. Raven is essentially a UI on top of GENRI with some other things. We don't want to throw all the user data into GENRI and muddle it up. We want a developer to be able to use GENRI without having to register users. So, for example, somebody makes a product and they want to ingest this data. We don't want them to have the users jump through OAuth 2 to be able to access it. And so, will we market Raven and GENRI separate? Will the APIs be munched or separate? We don't exactly know, but for now, they're separate. And right now, so Raven, when a user comes to it, what they do is they give us a start year and an end year, right? And they also choose a place. Well, let's say right here in the middle of nowhere, you happen to know that there is a village. Hey, see, there's a village, right? And we'll search within, right now it defaults a 10-mile radius. In the future, you'll be able to change that. Now we have some UI issues here to work out. For example, users think about places in terms of names and not coordinates, and not even always their place on a map. For example, I do some research in a town in western Ukraine, and I have the hardest time finding it on a map every time I need to. So somewhere we'll add a search box where they can type in the name, and then the map will zoom in there, and they can choose the exact place, maybe draw some polygons around it, and different things. And then they click the search button, and they will get results back. Now, right now, the search button doesn't work, but hopefully it will next week.
Yeah, next week it should. Just to note, one other thing we would like to do, especially on the search results, which we'll probably touch on a little more next week, is we would like to map the search results as well. So you can see the jurisdiction overlays. You can say, oh, this is what happened, and be able to look for that year. What did the jurisdictions kind of look like? What record sets cover what areas? Be able to see holes, or be able to see nice little overlays where you end up right on the border of a county in England, and you kind of got this weird diocese, where did they go, what's going on. So be able to see more of that. So that pretty much does it for this week. Next week, we'll show you some more Raven. We'll get the search button so it works. We'll actually show you some results there. We'll give you some more details on the GENRI API, talk a little bit about authentication, kind of what we're hoping to achieve there. And we may dive into some Gremlin Neo4j stuff. I'm not sure. We'll have to see. But that's it. That's it for this week. We'll kind of see you next week.
Yeah, this is Justin.
And John.
Thanks for watching.
Take care.